welcome. If this is your first time here, my name is Hannah and today I will be talking about books and other things. Hi, I was going to say Monday, but it's actually Tuesday. I have not got a Monday to Friday schedule. My schedule is all over the place. I had 5 days off and now I'll be working for the next 8 days. So we don't like that. But I have been doing quite good with my reading. How many books do I have left from my October TBR? I think I've got 2 books left. I have this way. I've got a Mistress of Lies left, which I just started, and Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White, which I haven't started yet. I don't know if this is going to happen this month. Actually, I have just finished listening to this. There was a copy available in the library on Libby app, and I've actually listened to this book and my thoughts. This is a domestic thriller, and the action is happening in the UK, in London, and it's about a family that move from an estate. It's in the UK. An estate is an estate of apartment blocks. And usually estates are not the best for bringing up children. There's a little bit of I don't know, I don't want to offend anyone, but you don't want to live on an estate. There are better estates and there are worse estates, but generally people don't want to live on an estate unless they are forced or for some reason or other. So there's this family and they move from this estate to a house in a nice area because they have a teenage son and they want the best for him. They want him to grow up in a safe environment. And the first thing that hits me is, if you lived in London, this literally feels like a London book. If I was to rate this book based on how the author described the life in London, it's like this. It's literally whatever she says is true. This is like 5-star for describing the London life. So I have experienced some of that drama that is described in this book. I had neighbors that were driving me crazy and I couldn't wait to move and go and live somewhere else. I feel like doesn't matter where you go, the area will have, their own issues. So I could really I felt really empathic towards the family of Salma and Bill and Zane, as me being immigrant myself and also kind of going through very similar things in my life in the past. Not to the point that whatever happened in the book, but I feel like this book is really about how the life in the UK is, how the life in London is. So if you are just trying to find out what really London life is about, read this book because it will literally tell you how it is. I see this stuff going on day by day. Every day you see exactly the same things going on. And this is the reason why I only rated this book 2 stars, because I don't want to read about my life or what's happening around me. I want a book to transport me to, I don't know, either somewhere nice or give me some scary shit, something that I don't experience and I want to feel thrilled and everything. This book, when it comes to the thrill, wasn't the best. I kind of felt like it was a picture of a British life in current times. And even though there was kind of like a little twist at the end, to me it just didn't change how I felt about the book because I already had all these feelings about it. And I've listened to it whole. I didn't DNF it, I didn't do anything like this because there was something that was grabbing my interest. I think I just wanted to see how it's going to finish. But yeah, it is definitely only a 2-star read for me. This is not what I look for in a book, and the thrill factor, the thriller, the domestic thriller kind of thing, it just wasn't enough for me. Maybe I just read too many thrillers and too many thrillers that are domestic thrillers that are better than this one, and this just does not. Yeah, I just feel like I've read this book and this is all I have to say about it. So that's a 2 stars for Those People Next Door by Kia Abdullah. So this is what I just started reading. This is a lovely Illumicrate edition. I think that was from the August box, Mistress of Lies, and it's something to do with blood workers, but it's not vampires per se, although some of them do drink blood, but it's something to do with blood magic, like, you know. And yeah, so this is all I know about it. I did really read the synopsis. It's long, and I kind of want to go into this book and find out for myself, see if I like it. But this edition is beautiful. Look at this. The cover is lovely. I think it's just slightly different colorway to the original one. I will put the original one on the screen. You should see it now. And yeah, but look at that edge. That edge is gorgeous. Try to show you better. I just want to cover myself. Yeah. So the edge is absolutely gorgeous. I love edges like this. And also, I know I've showed you this, but have a look. Beautiful end papers. And then we also have this one. And then the naked cover is absolutely gorgeous. Stunning. It's a printed hardback. So, and embellished as well. We've got some golden birds. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, so I'm reading this. I have read 36 pages because obviously nighttime, bedtime book, and but it's going okay so far. I can't say that I'm being pulled into the book. Like, you know, sometimes you read the first few pages and you're like, yeah, I love this straight away. So I'm not getting that. For now, it's going a little bit slow, even though some people may think, yeah, this is not slow because certain things happened, but to me it's still slow. I still don't get the gist of the book, if you know what I mean. So, but this, yeah, I'm reading. We'll see. And I also started listening to this. This, I have no idea what it is. It sounds like some sort of a fantasy. I picked it up in a charity shop once. Turns out it's a part of the series or duology. I have no idea. Audiobook was there and I was like, yeah, why not? I will listen to this. So I think I've just listened to like one chapter or something like this. So not much to say, except the fact that it is a fantasy. But I'm quite happy because I have been picking up books that are actually on my shelves, and I love seeing that my unread shelves numbers are going lower and lower, and I love that because I feel like I am definitely guilty of buying too much books. I think there's so many beautiful editions, and sometimes it's just hard to stop yourself, or you hear about the book and you're like, oh, I want to read that one. So for November, I'm thinking I might be actually reading some of the books from the library that I have, so we shall see. So I'm gonna go and change because I'm still in my uniform and I've got a few things to do. I will show you later. I'm almost finished making my jumper this time for myself. I'm so excited. It looks so pretty. So I haven't got much left, so I think I'm just going to sit down and I'm gonna finish the jumper and I'm gonna watch a movie because I decided I don't want to cook tonight, so we're just gonna have a pizza from the freezer, I think. Why not? Okay, a little bit better. Still not the bestest, but it's 5:15 and the light is there no more almost. Anyway, what I was saying, long day at work. If you live in London, if you've been using the Northern Line for the past couple of weeks, you know how shit it was. And every single day is rubbish, and every day is overtime, and it's just never ending. Hopefully after this coming weekend, they will fix the issue that they've been having with the computers and stuff, and hopefully things will go back to normal. But another day of forced overtime, unfortunately for me, and I am tired, so tired. I've been listening to this and I am on page 110, and I still don't know what this book is really about. I don't know what kind of plot is there to this book. All I know there is this whatever, the world, the realm, and there's three groups of people that are like just normal humans, low bone. And then you have high bones, which are people with like magic and healing properties and stuff like that. And then you have the other one, I think they were called not celestials, or something like this. And they kind of like a mix, so they still age and stuff, but they have magical properties, or the other way around. They haven't got magical properties, but they live forever. Either way, there's this girl, Liz. Hi, Liz. And she kind of gets, the book starts in an orphanage. And there's these like a highborn lord comes in. Sorry, my laundry is going on. This highborn lord comes in and he's looking for some kids and whatnot, and he notices that she's got like marks and scars on her arms, and he dispatches her master, or the person that was looking after the kids in an orphanage, and the list, she's a little girl, she remembers this highborn lord or whatever. And then years later, she's 22 years old. Those two thugs are talking about removing organs from a body and selling it and stuff like that, and her intuition guides her to go and save this person. Turns out this is the High Lord. And for the last 3 chapters, there was a lot of sexual tension and not much else. For the past 9 chapters, because I've finished chapter 9, there was generally not much going on. If I didn't actually use my hours, because I listen to this book on BookBeat, and on BookBeat I get 40 hours, so obviously to listen to this book I've just used up 16 of my hours. And if it wasn't for this, I think I would just give up with this book and I would DNF it. But I feel like I paid for it, I used my hours, I have to finish. Unless it honestly drives me nuts completely, then I'm gonna DNF it. I don't think there's much going on in this book, and so far I'm not a fan. I just put my I'm making dinner, so I'm just making pesto pasta, which is a simple but so lovely. But I just add a little bit of chilies, and I'm also making some halloumi to put on top. And I forgot the broccoli. Oh my god. Okay, no broccoli. I can't be bothered to cook them now. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, this book. Yes, I was getting confused between the 2 books because they're so similar in a way. And then in this one, so what do I know so far? So there's these 2 groups of people, unblooded, that's the people that don't have any magic, and then the people that have magic, I think they can become a blood worker. And there's this girl, Shan, and she is a little bit, from what I understand, like a vigilante. So during the day, she's the head of the house of whatever the house is, and then during the night, she kind of goes and like she's got spies and stuff. She's got like people around a town that spy for her, and I still don't know what she's spying for because I'm so early in the book. It's like 67 pages. But there is this man who's supposed to be the unblooded one, so the person without magic. Turns out he's got shitloads of magic inside him, and she tracks him down, and she... Am I confusing two books again? Okay, so she tastes a little bit of his blood, and she's able to tell where he comes from. Right, so this is the thing. See, this is where I get confused, because in this book, this girl, if she touches someone, she can see, she gets visions, and she can predict the future. So, yeah, the confusion is real. This one is a little bit slow, I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like this will have a little bit more substance than the other one. Anyway, I'm going to cook. I have almost finished my jumper. All I have to do now, I need to do the ribbing at the bottom of the jumper, and maybe I will see if I can fix the ribbing around the neck, because I think I used a too big of a hook and it's a little bit loose for my liking. So I'll see if I can work on that today. I have an earlier start tomorrow, so bedtime about 8 o'clock, which is not ideal, about 2.5 hours. But at least I'm showered, I'll cook dinner, and then I can chill for the night. I am currently catching up on my YouTube while I'm cooking. I'm watching Lovely Becca. There you go. I'm waiting to come out from the depot, and I'm reading Black Sheep. I'm recording this on my phone, so the quality of the sound is probably not going to be amazing. Also, I have all these fans going on. Also, I'm covering this with my finger. So I have all these fans going on around here and vents and stuff, so it's not great. So I'm reading Black Sheep, and I literally just read something, because this girl, and 6 years ago, what's her name? I don't even know her name, man. I'm so bad. Vespa. So there's this girl, Vespa, and 6 years prior, she left her family. Apparently her family was super religious and whatnot, and she couldn't live this life anymore. You know, it kind of reminded me of a Mormon community. So in my head, I just kept thinking, like, this is about Mormons and stuff, which I find interesting, reading about different faiths and stuff. Anyway, so she left the family 6 years prior, and then she kind of lived on her own and went against the faith. And one day she gets fired from her job, and she goes home and she finds an invitation for a wedding, her best friend's wedding, and her best friend is actually marrying, or her cousin or something is marrying her ex-boyfriend Brody. So she goes, and it's a little bit of a shock. It doesn't seem like any of these people sent that invitation, and she just turned up. And so they're sitting at this table, and they say, you know, do the prayer before we start to eat and whatnot. And I read something and I was like, mate, did I read it correct? I had to go back, and I was like, what? So this is what I'm gonna say. I am not saying anything else, because if you want to read this book, I am going to super spoil it for you, but it's not what I expected. So I am going to sit here for another, I think, 25 minutes or so, and I'm going to read as much as I can of this book, because boy, I just got hooked. My gosh, I DNF'd it after 150 something pages. I literally, this book, there is no story, there's no plot. All there is sex scenes, and this is My gosh, it's full of this cringy stuff. Like I was listening to this and I'm rolling my eyes and I cringe and I was like, oh my god. I thought that this is going to be like, I don't know. I kind of get the gist of the story, let's just say. I think the story or the plot of this book, I think that's what it is, because actually after reading almost half of this book I'm not sure. I think it's something to do with people catching those high loads and basically selling their organs, their bits for people to use in magic. I think this is what it is. But I am not sure, because 155 pages in the book, all I get is, like I said yesterday, a lot of sexual tension, a lot of cringy conversations between people, and it's just, I was just getting so fed up. Lord Thorne said something to her about how he will feed on her pleasure and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh my god, are you for real? I think this is a book for someone that likes to be teased, that likes spice and not much more, and I'm not in for it. Like I don't mind spice in the book, but I want there to be a story. I want the author to tell us a story. I want there to be a plot, and all the spice, you know, it's fine in the background, but I'm not going into a book just for this, especially that I didn't think this was that kind of a book, and it kind of teaches me a lesson, because this book had such good reviews, as in I looked at the star ratings and I haven't read the reviews. So I think from now on, when I pick up a book that from the author I've never read before, I think I will read the reviews. I'll read the negative reviews because I think they say the most. But yeah, so I will not just base my opinions on these negative reviews, but at least I think it will give me a little insight into what this book is about. So it's a DNF for me. It's not for me. I think yeah, basically it's not a book for me, so that's all. Hi all. Today, Friday today, and why I'm doing some chores. Come back from work, doing chores. Laundry is going on as well, so you'll probably hear that. I have this money plant, and it needs to be, I have to divide it somehow because it's literally growing all over the place, and it's kind of toppling over as well. I have never dealt with this before, but look at this, it's massive. And yeah, so I'm not sure how to approach it. I'm thinking I might just poke a hole and just stab a little cutting inside and see what happens. I don't know how to do this. So I keep reading Mistress of Lies, and I am on page, I've read about 132 pages. I want to finish it by the end of October, which means for the rest of the month I have to read 50 pages per day. Yesterday I didn't manage to. I'm 20 pages short, so today I'm gonna sit down and I'm going to read 70 pages because I want to add this to my October books. I'm enjoying it so far. I like the story, the way it's written. I like the writing style. I'm interested in a story. I actually I want to see what's gonna happen later. Samuel now is very rich, and before that he was part of the unblooded ones, so people that did not have magic. And he was just a simple worker, a laborer, and he belonged to the poorer part of the society. And now with all his money, he's trying to give back to the community as well. So that's interesting. That's another kind of like a thread going. So we'll see what happens with that. For now, 130 pages, and let me tell you, this book is so much more interesting than the other one. I cannot believe I've used up my 16 hours on BookBeat, and I can't get them back now because obviously but I need to do this plant. I started listening to another book that was recommended to me by one of my friends at work, John. Stormfront, and the author is something Butcher, and it's about this guy, Harry Dresden. It's a first book in a series, and he is a paranormal investigator, but actually his office says he's a wizard because he can do magic and whatnot, and he works with the police to help the police with some investigations that basically have a question mark attached to them. So, you know, he's that kind of paranormal guy, and he's working on this on a couple of jobs, and there is a murder. It's a very gruesome murder, and it was pretty much in a very early on in the book, and it got me really interesting because I thought the rest of the book will be like this. I've never read from this author, I've never read this series before, so I kind of didn't know what was gonna happen. Only the fact that John said, you know, if you like paranormal stuff, you might like it. So, you know, I know this sounds so bad, but I actually liked the murder scene. The murder scene was very gruesome, very gory, very descriptive, and I kind of thought that, you know, it's going to be a bit more about this. But, you know, he's doing his investigations and stuff, and there's some demons, and, you know, there's vampire as well. It's not a horror. There's a little bit of humor in this book, like a dark humor. So yeah, it kind of made me smile a few times. It's a little bit, let's say it, tongue-in-cheek kind of book. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I don't think, based on this whatever I've listened to till now, I don't think I would be continuing with this series. I just don't think this is something for me. It kind of it reads like a dad fiction, you know, something that men enjoy. I don't know. Well, some of the books I've read are not exactly ladylike, but I don't know, it's just, it's okay, but I don't think it's for me. Anyway, so that was the update. I need to go and sort this plan out because, oh my gosh, look at this. You can't even see anything because it is so big, and I don't know what I'm doing actually with it. My jumper. It's so pretty. Also, sorry for the bathroom view, but I took the shower curtain down because I'm going to wash it. But oh my god, how gorgeous is this? How absolutely stunning! Yeah. I am so happy how this jumper turned out. I've worked on it for I think it was quite quick actually, but I felt like I've worked on it for so long. Oh my god, all the ribbing, it took absolute ages to finish, and it took me I think it took me 2 days to finish the ribbing at the bottom because I didn't have time to just sit and crochet. Oh my god, I am in love. And the way I did the sleeves as well, I love that they are so Can you tell I'm happy? This is actually the first thing I've made for myself, this jumper, and I still have 3 balls of yarn left. I'll link the yarn in the description. This yarn is so freaking beautiful. I know this is a raglan jumper, so you start with the neck and then you go down, and so obviously here it's not going to be like it is on the sleeves because I always say circumstance, but it's not a circumstance, it's a circumference, flipping out, I never know how to say this word, circumference, yeah, that one, the one that goes around and around. Obviously the circumference of my body is bigger than on my sleeves, so the colors are not like this, but oh my god. It's so pretty. Oh, I think I'm gonna make another one. I have another yarn like this, but it's a different color, slightly dark, and I think it's going to look so pretty as well. I'm thinking maybe this time I'm gonna make this longer. Oh my god, but I mean the length is perfect for me because anything longer, it kind of makes me look like a potato because obviously I'm big in the hips, so I need things to kind of exaggerate my waist a little bit. But oh my god, I feel so pretty. I am so happy. I could not wait to actually put this on. I finished it yesterday. Sounded like someone downstairs, but there's no one there. Anyway, I finished it yesterday, but I didn't take any pictures because it was quite late and it was dark, and I just took pictures and I sent it to my partner and my daughter, and I put one on Instagram, and oh my god, I could not be happier. I am going to tag the lady that I got the pattern from. She's on YouTube. I think she's MJ something, I can't remember, so I will link her channel in the cards. You're probably seeing it around right now, and check her out. I will also tag her. I'll post a picture that I've taken on my community tab, and I will tag her as well in that photo. Oh my god, this was so easy and it's so beautiful. It's absolutely stunning, and I feel so happy. I also feel quite warm in it. This yarn is very warm, but oh my god, I could cry. I could cry. I'm so happy. But I'm not going to, obviously. But But what I will tell you, this book, I'm loving this book, Mistress of Lies, obviously because I took the dust jacket off so it doesn't get damaged. I'm loving this book. I am just approaching 50% mark, and as you can see, I've got 3 tabs here, 3 more days left to finish it, because obviously I want to record it as well. And I'm reading this and I'm loving it, but part of the plot is there are murders happening around the city, and it's always the same. The body gets bloodied, you know, when they take the blood out, so sucked dry pretty much. And it's always the poor people that no one will be looking for and whatnot. So far it's been 3 murders. So they're trying to discover who the murderer is. And also there's another kind of plot to the story and another situation going on, which I'm not going to mention because you will find out from the book if you're going to read it. My library hold came through for The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. And I started listening because I placed a hold for an audiobook, and people were saying how amazing this book is, but I don't want to commit myself to buying a book and then not liking it and then spending all that money, and it's also a trilogy and whatnot. So I decided to place a hold in a library for this book, and it came through the other day, and I started listening to it today. And believe me, after about an hour and a half, 2 hours of listening to the book, I went and I ordered the trilogy. So that is coming today. This book is amazing. We follow this girl, Rin, and we first meet her when she is 14 years old, and she is an orphan, and she's being looked after by a couple of people that have their own son who's younger than her, and they run a shop, and in the shop they illegally, well obviously, sell opium, and they want to marry her off to this inspector that works in a harbour, and the plan is for the inspector to kind of like close his eyes when the transports are coming in. So they want to marry her off, and she's 14 and she doesn't want to get married, so she finds this teacher and she begs him for lessons. She wants to take this very prestigious exam that will enable her to go to school and to this academy, and the teacher finally agrees to tutor her, and then she goes back to her parents, but her foster mother says, you know, even if you pass the exam, who's going to pay for your school? We haven't got money and we're not going to give you money. So she decides to go to the only school, she applied to the only school that is free, and this is a military academy. And in that academy, when you finish it, you become a general, strategist or something like this, but you will work for the army, and this is the only school that is free. So she spends 2 years to learn and prepare for the exams, and she passes the exam and eventually gets to the school, and then we follow her time in a school, all the challenges that she faces, mental challenges and physical challenges. And if I'm telling you, this book is so interesting, and apparently this was a debut book as well. For a debut, oh my god, I am literally mind blown. This book is written in such a nice way. It's easy to read or listen to. It's easy to read, listen to, and the story just flows, and the world building, like she created this world, and it's so easy to, for me at least, it's so easy to imagine where we are, what's happening, like all the characters that she introduces. I freaking love it. I absolutely love this book, and I'm telling you now, this for me is going to be a 5-star read, because in one day today I've listened to 40% of this book, and I'm listening on 1.5 speed. Normally I kind of venture towards 1.7, 1.75, 1.8 sometimes, but I want to understand everything and I want to inhale everything, so I'm listening slightly slower, and yeah, I am freaking loving it. So if you haven't read this book, I highly recommend you give it a go. If you're worried about I think this is going to be a book on a slightly bigger scale. because audio is, I think, close to 19 hours, so it's a big book. And yeah, so if you're scared, just give it a go. Maybe borrow it from a library or something. But yeah, amazing. Whew, that was a long one. Hi, if you can see the change of lighting, is because I have my colorful lights on, and they kind of glow and change colors. It's also quite late, so the lights are on, and I mean, it's not late, but it's just dark. It's 5:30. I just had a haircut. I think my hair looks really pretty. I'm going to do, I think, the bleach and color tomorrow. But what I wanted to do, and hopefully my battery will last, because I can see I have two dots, so it doesn't bode well, but I have a spare one here, so hopefully I'll be able to change it really quickly. I have finished reading The Poppy War. I always think it's a Poppy War. I have finished reading The Poppy War by Rebecca Kuang, and my gosh, I actually listened to this book. I thought I mentioned that before, but I think the other books I will be physically reading, and I want to read them ASAP, because I heard that this book is really good, but I didn't actually expect that. And I know I haven't been talking a lot about this book. I mentioned a few bits. So she passes that exam, and that enables her to go to this very prestigious military school. And you'd think, like, you know, now everything will be fine, but she goes to the school, and as a southerner, as a person from the south, as a poor person, as a person with darker skin, she is being treated as an outsider, because most of the kids that go to the school are kids of the ministers and rich people and bankers and, you know, people like that. So she's being treated as an outsider, and she gains few friends during her time at school, but but she gets more enemies than friends, and she finds it really hard. She faces a lot of mental and physical challenges while she's at this school, but she keeps pushing, she keeps, you know, challenging herself, and she keeps pushing and learning, because she doesn't want to go back to the life she had before. And somehow she catches an eye after one of the physical fights, like the physical challenges. She catches an eye of an instructor, and he, without giving anything away, he teaches her things, and it's like the whole new world opens up for her. And then during, I think, the third year of the school, another war, the Poppy War, starts, and all these kids that at this point 18, 19 years old, they are forced to take part in this war, and we see a lot of brutality. There's a lot of descriptions about, you know, torture, and, you know, how the victims were treated, and what the enemy army did to the people that they caught, the prisoners. So in this sense, this is really hard to read, and I think some of this story is based on actual facts. I'm not sure what exactly and how much of the true happenings is in this book, but it's very quite emotional, and it moves you when you read about this. And, you know, so there's this war happening, and, you know, she joins one of the squadrons, and then we follow the story of her and the squadron and whatnot. And this is all I'm going to say about the plot of the book. What I wanted to say, this book is a debut. I think it came out in 2018. This was the first book that Rebecca Kuang wrote, and I have read many debut books, and this definitely does not feel like a debut. This was written so beautifully. I love how the author interwoven the real world, the real world of the characters, with like the dream world and like the gods and all the legends and everything. It was masterfully done, and the descriptions were beautiful, and there was a lot of descriptions written in this very poetic and lyrical language. But I love that the author wasn't afraid to use a rougher language where it was needed, and I just loved it. I just felt so immersed in this whole world. The way she built this world, I could literally imagine myself being there and imagine how everything felt and smelled, and just the atmosphere of this entire world that she created in this book was absolutely fantastic. It was so immersive. This book was so engaging as well. It was really hard to put it down. I binged listen to this book. I couldn't get enough of it. Every single minute I had, I would listen to it, and I would listen on a slower than my normal speed, because I wanted to take in all the details and everything. Her characters in her book are so masterfully executed, like especially Rin, in my opinion. We see her growth and how she changes, and how, you know, she faces all these adversities, and how it makes her as a person. And I just loved her. She was my favorite character. She is the main character of the book, and you know, I loved her. She was so stubborn. She was brave. She had so much courage to to just do what she wanted, and she was not afraid to stand up for things that she believed in, and for people that she believed in as well. And it was just, as a character, she was done masterfully, absolutely masterfully. When it comes to like the pacing of this book, I feel like this was so nicely balanced, because I feel like sometimes we have books that is just action, 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 and it's hard to take a breath. This one, I felt like we had the scenes when it was nice and slow, and then we have the fast-paced scenes during the war, for example, or different like challenges and fights and stuff. But when we were in this dream realm, it slowed down, and it really created a very balanced atmosphere and very balanced pace in this book. And all I'm going to say, this unexpectedly has become one of my favorite books of the year, and definitely one of my favorite books of all time. And I will be recommending this to people, and I hope that someone someday will create a series for us to watch, or I don't know, or a movie or something, because I feel like it would be such an amazing, epic story to tell visually as well, and not only as a book. Highly recommend this. If you haven't read this already and you like fantasy, definitely give it a go. I just cannot wait to see what happens next. And on the other note, I also started another series, because there was another hold in my library, the Inheritance Games, and this is a story of Avery that randomly gets a call to attend a reading of the will, and so it happens that she inherits a fortune from this man that she's never heard about, and all the family members, they got something, but she got the most. She got millions. And then I think the boys, there's 4 grandsons that we meet here, they got like 250,000, and everybody else that got some like, you know, pennies comparing to what she's getting. So I'm not very far in this book. I think I've read about 10 chapters. Audio as well. It was a library audiobook, but it sounds interesting. It's a young adult thing, and then there are different I believe there will be some different games included, because she's already had to figure out a couple of puzzles in those 10 or 15 chapters, or however many I've read. And I think it's going to be something interesting to read, a quick read from what I can see. And yeah, the chapters are quite short, so the story is flowing really quickly. Let's see. I've got book 1. I haven't got the other books because, like I said, I don't want to commit myself to reading a whole series if I don't like the first book. So hopefully that makes sense. Mistress of Lies is going really well. I've got less than 100 pages left. Off tomorrow. We are going to we have an appointment in the morning with my son, so that has to be done, and then we'll see. Might go to the gym. Jason's off as well. Might go to the gym, and then shopping and stuff like that, and hopefully I'll finish that book tomorrow. I'm excited because it's a good one as well. It's not as good as The Poppy War, but it's definitely an interesting read. I'm liking it so far. Well, so far, I'm almost finished, so I'm liking it. Finally done my hair. It's been, I think I've taken about 2 months break from doing anything with my hair. No bleaching, no toning, nothing. So yeah, it looks good. I like it. I've been on a roll, but not with what I was supposed to be on the roll with. My God, that's a mouthful. Anyway, so Mistress of Lies, I've read a little bit today while I was sitting with this thing on, and I have about, I want to say 60 pages left. So the plan is I'm gonna go and take a shower because I've got work tomorrow at 6 o'clock, and I want to finish this today, and hopefully tomorrow I will be able to record my October wrap-up and my November reading plans. I have actually already recorded my November reading plans, but then I decided today that that's it. I'm going to scrap this, and I want to read other books. So I will be telling you in that video. Also, I have finished Inheritance Games, and I loved it. It was such a good book. It was such a fun book. I think everybody wishes that something like this happened to us. Avery is just a normal teenager, and one day there is this guy in her high school at the head teacher's office, and he says she needs to come to reading of the will of his grandfather, and she's never met the guy, she never met anyone from that family, and turns out she inherited millions. There's different caveats to this inheritance. There's different terms and conditions. One of them is the fact that she needs to live in this house, in the Holden house, for exactly 1 year. And they all are given letters, the 4 grandsons and her, and it takes them on a scavenger hunt. And the way it finished, I literally cannot wait to read book 2. I have ordered book 2 and book 3. I think they're coming tomorrow, so these will be one of the books I will be reading in November, I think. But I loved it. It was such a fun book. The chapters are super short. I've listened to this as an audiobook, but that I had from a library, but the other 2 books are not available for several months, so I'll be reading them physically, and I absolutely cannot wait. This is such a fast read. This is such a fast story. It's like, it literally keeps you on your toes, and what I love about it is the fact that there's so much puzzles and riddles, and I love puzzles and riddles. I absolutely love it. So this was right up my alley. I rated it 4 stars. because it's not a 5-star read for me. Like, you know, when I read The Poppy War, that was a 5-star book. This one, it's a 4.5, but yeah, I try not to give half-star ratings, so it's gonna stay as a 4-star. And basically for me, 4-star is a book that I really liked. I enjoyed it, I had fun with it, and I vibed with it. And yeah, this is I think it's going to be a fun series. And I picked up another book that was on hold from the library as well, because from time to time what I do, I go through all my physical books on my shelves, and I see what is available from the library, and I place holds. And when these holds come through, that's when I listen to these books. And one of those holds that came through, I think yesterday, was Hard Bones by Colleen Hoover. I have no idea what this book is about. I feel like Colleen Hoover could be such a hit and miss. I liked some of her books and some I absolutely So yeah, we shall see. Bea, she is forced to move to her father's house. She's not old, but she's forced to move to her father's house, and next door is this guy Samson, and it's apparently something starts between them, and it's supposed to be just a summer fling, but it turns into something deeper and more meaningful. So we'll see. Like I said, it's been a hit and miss for me with Colleen Hoover, so we'll see about this one. I need to go and shower, and I need to go and lie down. I want to finish Mistress of Lies today, because tomorrow is the last day of October, and I really want to have this book ticked up in October, because yes, because I can. Hello, sorry for the noises. I'm currently cooking, and the air fryer is going as well. Last night I have finished reading Mistress of Lies, and good, because today is 31st of October, so I'm hoping to actually, when I finish cooking, I'll be able to edit this vlog. I need to keep an eye out on my dinner. And yeah, so just to give you a quick synopsis, this book is about Shan. Shan is the female character, and she is a blood worker. Blood workers in this city, this town, they're not exactly vampires, but they use blood to do magic. And the society, the community is divided between the blood workers, the people that have the ability to use blood for magic, and unblooded. And unblooded are the people that have no magic, and their blood is just normal. Shan has a network of spies and people that kind of give her bits of informations, and spy for her. And from one of her spies, she receives a message that there is this man, and he's unblooded, but he's got some sort of a power in his blood. So she tracks him, and turns out he's the last surviving member of this royal family. Very powerful. He's got a very powerful blood. She kind of takes him under her wing and trains him, and then introduces him to the court. And at the same time, in that city, there are bodies appearing, and her and Samuel end up investigating the murders on the order of the king. So this is a very quick synopsis. I need to stir my food. And right, so as I was reading this book, my opinion on this book kept on changing from like, oh, this is really cool, I love it, to like, oh, I'm getting a little bit bored with it. I think the pacing wasn't balanced in this book. Like, you know, there were mostly parts to me that just felt really quite dragged out and not very interesting, when other parts were very engaging and very intriguing. Like the part with the murders, I found it really interesting, but I don't think it was explored enough for me. But maybe it's just not that type of a book. It's not a murder mystery book, it's a fantasy, so this is probably the reason why. Even though the stakes in the story were quite high, it didn't give that impression that they were high enough, like the intensity was not there. Also, there was this one scene that I didn't appreciate. It was a sex scene, very quite smutty, and like I don't mind that, but I feel like comparing to the rest of the book, I just felt like it was a little bit out of place, like it didn't suit the book, because everything else was quite PG, and then we have this very vulgar scene in the middle of the book, and you know, you kind of, I don't mind it, but I don't think it suited the book, and I feel like the author could kind of like has taken advantage of the fact that there's a lot of readers nowadays that enjoy smut and wanted to add something like this in this book, and I think it was unnecessary. And for me, it was kind of like, we don't really need that. For that reason, I literally, it was so vulgar, I would call it porn. For that reason, for me, I don't know, I don't think it suited the book. And for this reason, for that one scene that was there, I think the audience for this book should be adult. It's definitely not a young adult book. I like the fact that it was quite a lot of politics involved, and I didn't mind that. I actually enjoyed that part of the book, but I feel like the whole magic system wasn't explored enough and it wasn't explained enough, and I don't know, there was something lacking in this book for me, and for this reason I rated it only 3 stars. And I know there's a book 2 coming at some point, and I will probably not be looking forward to read it. I probably won't be picking it up. Also, I'm listening to Hard Bones. I started that yesterday. It's just a short book, so I think I have about an hour and a half left, so hopefully I'll be able to finish that today. I feel it's quite I'm enjoying it. It's about this girl. Her mom is an addict, and she overdoses and ends up ending tragically. And I keep mixing them up. Bea is being evicted from her house, which is not even a house, because her mom and her were very, very poor because of her mother's addiction, and she's being evicted out of this trailer, and she's supposed to go and live with her dad and his new wife and her new stepsister. Okay, so she's going to the university after the summer, so she kind of needs a place to stay for a couple of months. So she calls up her dad, and she goes and stays with her dad, and his current wife and him right now are quite wealthy, and they are staying in this beach house on some kind of like an island or something, like on the coast of Texas or somewhere like this. And she goes to this house, and she's obviously not used to it. She grew up quite poor, and you know, she feels a little bit like an outsider, but the sister, her stepsister, is actually quite nice to her, and they become friends, and she becomes friends with like the boy next door and the stepsister's boyfriend as well. So it's kind of so it's interesting, and it's really nice to see how she develops those friendships with those people. So her and this boy, they start seeing each other, and it seems like they are developing some feelings toward each other. So the romance is going on. I'm enjoying it. I think it's a very quite sad story because of the topics that are being talked about, even the experiences that the girl went through with her mom, and you know, being poor, what she had to go through and everything. So it is a sad story, and I have a feeling it's going to be a sad ending as well, by judging by what is going on in the book right now. So I'll keep cooking my dinner, listen to the rest of this book, and hopefully finish that today, and then I can just give you my rating and close this vlog, and we can move on. And on that note, I wanted to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening to me waffle on about books. I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and if you did, don't forget to like it. Also comment if you want to, and if you want to say something and you have nothing to say and you still want to let me know that you were here, leave me a pink heart emoji for hard bones and my lovely pink cover. I love this cover. And yeah, take care for now, and I'll see you next time. Bye.